Hello everyone, welcome back. And today I'm working on the cracks. You can see where I have them marked up with my marker from yesterday. And today I'm going to start doing some detailing. This is just the first step in the detailing. I've set my timer to 15 minutes so that I can do this in one shot video. At least this part, so that I can actually get a video up for you today. So what I'm doing is drawing along the top of my marker a darker color. This is a mixture of Mars Black and Van Dyke Brown. And along the top edge of the bottom column is where I'm adding in sort of darkness to show that there's depth. Now I'll have to come back in another layer to overpaint the speckling on the sides of the column because they're not on the column top. So I'll come back and do that later. Right now I'm just painting right over the top of it and trying to start to add in depth for the cracks themselves. And so I'm tapering them because the columns are tapered as they come up to the surface, so they're wider on the top than they are on the actual column. So that's what I'm doing here in this process. And I don't do all of them in this video, but I'll give you a good shot at what doing this part of the detail work will look like. Then I'll come back and I have to correct the blue that's on the outside to fit with the edging of the columns as I work them out. And then I'll correct the sides of each column with a lighter sort of tan parchment. And I'll show that step at some point too. To, like I said, clean up the speckling along the sides. And you're also going to see evidence. I don't know if I actually show it in film. I think I don't. You'll see evidence where I've painted under the right foot from this view to add more depth around the foot itself and make it look more grounded. So it's a process. I think there are going to be multiple steps for me to refine the cracks. And I have to refine the cracks before I do my next level of detail. And I have more detail to do on her. And I have obviously the detail work for the starry background. And I have to finish those planets that you see off to the left. So this is just another step in that process. I'm trying to continuously work toward my goal of having this painting getting closer and closer to being finished. I would love to see it being done this month. I'm not quite sure if I'll make it before May, but I'm going to give it a shot. Anyway, so this is how you're sort of adding depth. I'm distorting my depth, and what I mean is that I'm adding angles to the sides of each of these columns. They wouldn't really be accurate in real life, so they're accurate in my imagination to create the illusion of depth. It's kind of all about revealing when you're doing trying to add depth to a painting or depth to any kind of object, is you're informing the eye of the viewer of what you want them to think they're seeing. It isn't accurate to real life cracks. They would look different from this. But what I'm trying to shoot for is how the viewer receives the information and interprets the cracks. And in the story, the cracks themselves, this path you see, is actually maybe over a couple miles wide. It's not narrow like you see in this image. And the tops of these columns are considerably larger than you see in this photo or in this painting, and but it became unwieldy to try to convey that in the cover to get the translation that I was looking for. So my decision was to narrow it down visually and capture Destine and the spider for the cover in sufficient size. If I had made the cracks as wide as they are in the story, it would have removed most of the starry-scape and altered the feel of the rest of the planets, and it would have altered all of that. So I kind of made a command decision to, like I said, create the movement in the cracks pathway, make it more usable for me in this image. And so that's what I've done here. So it makes some of this a little tricky. You're seeing what happens when you have to modify what your reality is to suit your surface, your amount of room, and the story you're telling with your image. And so those were the decisions I made for this cover. There's my kitty again. She's the kitty that likes to visit my paintings and drawings the most. Her name is Static. I don't know if she'll show her face. I have two kitties. The other one is named Shadows and is very, very thick-furred Siamese. Is a chocolate Siamese. But this one is a tiger kitty, and they're both rescue cats that live with me and have for several years. So let's see, back to the painting. So anyway, so I'm going to detail all the cracks you can see in this image. I won't get them all done today. Well, I might finish them today, but I won't finish them all on camera, because at the moment, until I get my storage sorted out, I'm sort of limited to about 15 minutes per video that my computer can handle. So at the moment, that's what I'm doing, is I'm trying to put together 15-minute videos for you, show you the step that I'm doing, and explain why I'm doing what you see. As you can see, even just with where I'm at this point, you can see the cracks, the column tops are beginning to take a different form from just a few minutes ago, and start to perhaps add a little bit of drama to her footing. And that I wanted to do that as well, is add a sense of the adventure that the book is, because she's on an adventure and the spiders are on an adventure. So I wanted the choice to show the cracks. I wanted that to convey some of the dangers, some of the interesting features of the story itself, because obviously the cover is designed to lure a reader into picking up and purchasing the book. So that's the objective of all book covers, is to gain the interest of the reader when they look at it. So since my cover is under my control, it's designed to show the story in as much detail as I can manage. And so there's more that's coming. If you look at her hands, you can see kind of white lines coming out of both hands. And one of the last layers that I'll do for this cover is to add sort of a detail coming off her hands to indicate magic. And so you'll see those lines will change into shape, sort of a curly-Q kind of shape that goes upward. But it will be one of the last things I put on the canvas because it is in front of everything else. So part of the situation you deal with in making a painting like this is understanding what is behind what and what's in front of what. And then you're trying to pull what you're interested in forward. And so I'll be making an effort to pull Destine closer to the viewer than the spider. So my primary target in this painting is the main character, which is Destine. And the secondary character is the spider immediately behind her. So I want the focus to be on that. I want the path to tell the story of the umbilical that connects all these planets together. And I want the path to also tell the story that there is depth and danger by running along this path, that it's not a terribly safe place to be. But all these characters, and there are a lot of characters in the actual book, are moving up and down in the cracks from below to above. They're above in this image. They're moving back and forth depending on what's happening. And it's arduous and difficult and dangerous. But they're all doing it because they're involved in trying to solve the problems they're facing. So, I wanted to add that little teaser of danger in the cracks that I'm depicting, which is why you're seeing what you're seeing. I have been careful to make sure I placed all of the feet on the top of a column rather than on the gap. And I talked about that a little bit in my last video. But that's, in the reality of the story, she would be standing on a single column top, and the spider might be standing on two. It's quite large, but they wouldn't be standing on so many. So I've made the columns look much smaller, but even then they're not as wide as they should be. So these are the trade-offs that you make when you're deciding how to depict something from the constraints of what you are trying to achieve. And since I'm trying to achieve a book cover, I was started off with a specific size, which is why you see this canvas the size that it is, and the front cover is the right side of the canvas. And so you immediately you have a certain amount of room, and you want to be large enough in the finished book to be easy for the person looking at the book on a shelf or on a display to see the details that you've included in your cover in a pleasant way, hopefully, and an exciting way for the reader. So they'll look at it and go, oh, that looks interesting. Let me take a look at that. And since spiders are not commonly loved in human culture, I had to move in the direction of making the spider interesting instead of scary. And if you notice, I gave the spider eyelids, which spiders don't have eyelids. I gave Zaplunda eyelids to convey a little bit more character. So, I'm playing with some things that are questionable on a cover. Having a spider on a cover is, a little bit of a concern, but she is crucial to the story, so she needed to be there. And so, whenever you're designing a cover, you're kind of looking at all of these elements. So anyway, it's going to cut away here in just a minute because I'm reaching my 15-minute mark. And then it'll show you much more of the cracks done in sort of a little static way It's not so active in the next little cut. But at least you'll see the direction I'm going in developing the cracks on the path, which is a big part of this. A big part of this video is, dedicated to showing how to develop the cracks into something more interesting. Okay, here we go. So as you see, I've done quite a bit more work on the cracks themselves to give them some depth. See you next time.